Hold on, I gotta shake all the candidates. Good to see you. I'm doing pretty good. Oh, yeah, we'll put all that. That's the way my life
Let the record show it is, whoops.
Oh, now it's official.
Well, let the record show it is 6:14. Call to order the regular city council meeting, the Ranch City Council meeting of February the 12th, 2019. And welcome visitors and staff members and all of you in the audience. We're pleased that you're here. I'd like to call upon our good friend. I think I saw him. Yeah. James Dalton to lead us in an invocation. And Marty Cook, our Public Works Director, would you lead us in the pledge, please? And if you can stand, please stand.
Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for the beauty of the day. We thank you for our health. We thank you for the breath of life you give us. We thank you for our family. We thank you for where we live, Father. Lord, I appreciate all the work that's going on in our community. Recently, the spirit of accord that we have. Lord, I pray that you help us tonight. I pray that you give our council persons wisdom, Father, to make hard decisions. Lord, we just thank you for all of our service people. We thank you for those that protect us from the law enforcement standpoint as well. We pray safety on all of our public servants. Thank you for our families. Thank you for every good thing. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
I pledge
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Be seated, please. I'm going to take my coat off. Everybody read that? We began this day in a wonderful way, and every day is a good day. And James, thank you for lifting up our community and our citizens and this council. Thank you for that. But we began this day this morning with some excitement. Stephanie's not here this evening. I saw some folks this morning early at some of the events. It was a cliffhanger. They went from five finalists. They couldn't do it, so they made 6. They were chosen in random order, but waiting to be called the 6th number was pretty tense. And but anyway, it was an exciting time, and we're so pleased and proud of this community and the folks that have, I think as James mentioned, that have really stepped up throughout this campaign and continue to step up, and the citizens that have chosen to participate in such a positive way. It's enlightening. It's encouraging. It's great for our community. It's great for our citizens, but folks, it's great for our kids, and I'm grateful for that. Before we get started, I do want to, and correct me if I'm wrong on this, but my wife and I have a cell phone. She has a cell phone. She has a Kindle, tablet. I've got a iPad, and we got a computer. We've got 2 email addresses on the home computer. I have the city email address. Hang on, I'm missing an email address somewhere, but anyway, on your phone, on those things I mentioned, Chris, you help me here, Kindle, iPad, computer, any device, and every email address that you have. On my phone, I voted all my email addresses. I went to my iPad, I did the same thing. I went to the computer, I did the same thing. Linda did the same thing on her Kindle and on her phone. It's contrary to the philosophy that we hear in the voting process. When someone says vote and vote often, that's kind of not the right thing to do. But this is where we can. And so I encourage you to have families spread out across these United States. This community, your kids, your church, it's going to take some numbers, but a lot of folks are participating, and I see some heads shaking out there that are as excited, I think, as I am. But Tim, you want to say anything on it, Tim? And,
I think the easiest way is if you're confused about how to vote, just go to mydurant.com, and that will take you straight to a link where you can click on, and it'll take you straight to where you need to vote on the Small Business Revolution website. So yeah, we're very excited to hear that. And I just want to thank everybody, the business owners, the folks that have been participating and getting out and getting the word out, and done a really excellent job of promoting. And as the mayor kind of alluded to, it was a little bit of a cliffhanger this morning, but pulled through. And for everybody's information, they vote through the 19th, and then we won't know the winner until I believe it's at the 26th, I think they will do the official announcement of who actually is going to win this contest. And we're surely hoping that we get a shot at this and go to the next step, which is having a reality television show here showcasing our fine businesses here in Durant.
thank you. And I think most folks know it, but REI, Scott Duvall, the CEO executive, and his group stepped up and are matching that 500,000. So we really have $1 million opportunity for our downtown, which is just phenomenal in itself. But as Tim mentioned, the voting is just through the 19th, and today's the 12th. So, and I had an email address of mydurant.com/vote. I think takes you right maybe to that voting page. But again, friends and neighbors, and whether they're friends or not, get everybody you can to vote often. We've already been a winner in our community, but our prayer is that we're the big winner of this whole thing. So thank you for allowing us to share that. The clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne.
Here.
Councilmember Groby. Here. Councilmember Dills.
Here.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock.
Here.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Here. And for the record, all members are present. We have a full quorum. And we'll go right to our work and our agenda order of business. And item number 1 is under consent items. For those that may not be familiar, consent items allow the focus to be on, allow us some time for other items requiring more thought. This portion is usually routine, procedural, and self-explanatory and non-controversial kind of items. They're voted on in a single motion, one vote. However, any council member may, at their request, will have a item considered under a separate vote. Are there any items to be considered under agenda item number 2? Hearing none from the council, entertain a motion for the consent items.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion, we have a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne.
Aye.
Councilmember Groby. Aye. Councilmember Dills.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock.
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, that motion carries. If you're following that agenda, I just want to take a minute to point out item number E was to consider approval of an appointment, an approval by this council of a member to serve as the at-large member of the Durant Industrial Authority. Pleased to say that Mr. Chris Pierce has accepted that challenge. It'll be a 4-year term. And Chris, we're grateful that for your service. You're, I think he's also the Lieutenant Governor of the region in the Kiwanis. So he's very active, a young family, getting lots of text on wrestling and high school and stuff, but good to see. And Chris, thank you for your service, and we look forward to working with you and through you with the DIA authority as well. Okay. Under information items, again, for the audience, all the department heads, managers, staff provide the council with monthly reports. A lot of numbers, a lot of information, and we're grateful for that. And we had some discussion regarding that in our briefing, our staff or briefing meeting earlier. Are there any reports council wishes to discuss? Hearing none, then we will move to item number 4 under administration. Item 4A, consider whoops, Tim, are we going to consider that after all? Or?
Yeah.
Okay. Consider approval of resolution 2019-05, creating the Durant Partnership Coalition consisting of the Choctaw Nation, the Durant Industrial Authority, and the City of Durant, designating partnership funding for the purpose of street repairs and resurfacing. And Tim, I think you have some discussion information for us.
Mr. Mayor and council members, tonight before you is a resolution creating the Durant Partnership Coalition. As all of you know, last 2008, I believe 18, it was in March of 2018, we did a community survey. We had several things that popped up as a result of the survey that were somewhat obvious. 88% of the Durant citizens notified us with the survey that they were unsatisfied with the condition and maintenance of our streets, and was definitely the highest priority by citizens over the next 2 years. The council subsequently called a GO bond election in June of 2018 for $20 million worth of road repairs that would have repaired about 400 to 500 blocks of city streets. The GO bond did not pass. The citizens, I believe it was 65-35 on the percentage. So in January of 2019, the Choctaw Nation approached us. They are starting a community partnership fund to assist communities such as Durant within their 10.5 counties. They are going to be giving us quarterly contributions from businesses that they run that are non-gaming as a percentage of their profits from those. So our first check that we received in January 15th was for $55,100. I wanted to recommend to the council that we utilize those funds for the purposes of resurfacing and repairing streets. We feel strongly that this is probably going to create a fund of somewhere around $150,000 a year. I did go to the DIA yesterday to request a partnership fund and was hopeful that I could bring it for you tonight, but unfortunately there was some discussion and it was tabled. I will be going back to the March meeting with the same item request as far as the partnership. There were some questions on the accounting side and the legal, a couple legal questions that we're going to iron out and bring back before the DIA. So again, I'm bringing this to you tonight in hopes that we can form this partnership and push forward with some of our street repairs and resurfacing.
Tim, as I understand that Choctaw potential funding, it will represent about $150,000. The city is considering a match.
Yes, sir.
Of $150,000, and if we're successful in adding another $150,000 through the DIA funding, that would be what, $450,000?
Yes, sir.
That we could put towards these streets. I would point out, we did discuss this earlier. A resolution is non-binding. If indeed council considers this as a motion to consider, it'd be contingent upon further action by the Durant Industrial Authority, and contingent upon that, then could be put in place. But a resolution is non-binding, but it is an offer, an effort in this area, in this direction. By the city and the tribe with their funding. So any questions for Tim? Any other discussion from council members? Are we at a time for a motion?
Move to approve Resolution 2019-05 contingent upon approval of the DIA.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne,
Aye.
Councilmember Groby,
Aye.
Councilmember Dills,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock,
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. Item 4B, consider approval of Resolution 2019-04, an appointment of Rocky Powers as the City of Durant Administrative Hearing Officer and Tina Prentice Pig as alternate Administrative Hearing Officer. Mr. Matt is over Community Development.
Yes, sir.
That
Good
falls
evening.
under you, sir.
Good evening, everyone. So, per state statutes, you all have the power and have appointed an administrative officer for the city. And in this case, we're talking about code enforcement hearings, which take place on a bi-weekly basis. And the resolution tonight, I'm requesting your approval of the appointment of Mr. Rocky Powers as the City of Durant Administrative Hearing Officer and Ms. Tina Prentice Pig as alternate Administrative Hearing Officer. And those two positions would be taking the place of our current Administrative Hearing Officer, Mr. Jack Skaggs, who's served a lengthy term, but he and his family have decided it's time for him to step down from that position. So the appointment of these two candidates would replace his position on those biweekly hearings and also receive collectively the $500 that Mr. Skaggs has been receiving on a monthly basis. And it would be divided between Mr. Powers and Ms. Prentice Pig per hearing. So 2 meetings would $250 per meeting and so on.
Any questions for Matt?
Move to approve Resolution 2019-04.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne,
Aye.
Councilmember Groby,
Aye.
Councilmember Dills,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock,
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
And,
Matt.
I would like just to, for the record, to be noted that we are trying to recognize Mr. Skaggs through a plaque
Yes.
for his years of service.
At a
here.
future council meeting, I think, right? Hopefully, maybe.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
That'll work. Item 4C, consider, discuss, and authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with McGrath Human Resources Group for $30,956 to update, develop our classification and compensation program, also to update job descriptions, and to take the appropriate action. Greg, Mr. Buckley.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Our current compensation plan has not been reviewed and updated in 8 to 10 years. And so this will provide an updated model, ensuring that from the job changes and shifting around that we've done over the last 10 years, sort of renewed job analysis, make sure that we're compensating positions appropriately, reclassing those positions, grouping those together, and having a working model so we know how to, in the future, be able to move people either up or down, across, and if we create new positions, how we slot those and group those together, which creates that classification model and program. It also then will go through a job analysis with the employees, establishing what their current duties and responsibilities are, so we can then update the job descriptions that will be used to slot them and group them appropriately. And then the compensation side is to look at our external market for those positions to identify that we're currently paying positions appropriate for those knowledge, skills, abilities, duties, responsibilities. So this plan will then allow us to ensure that we're retaining and recruiting good quality employees that want to stay with the city and have the skill sets to be able to do that. So this will take about a 6 to 7 month process. We'll try to squeeze that down, but it does then give us a good working model and allow us to ensure that we have internal equity within the organization, as well as external equity that we're being competitive to the market, so we can be a good employer and get good quality employees. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions for Mr. Buckley? I think one of the things we pointed out in the earlier briefing too was this is all employees other than
Police and fire.
the
Does not
police and
include
fire, the
unionized
union, or the employees.
Yes, thank you, Mayor.
But all employees other than. We're at a time for a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne,
Aye.
Councilmember Groby,
Nay.
Councilmember Dills,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock,
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you, Mayor, Council.
Thank you, sir. Item 4D, consider approval of Resolution 2019-06, authorizing mural projects for the Bliss Boutique building and a building at South 2nd Avenue and Law Street. Mr. Matt.
Yes, hello again. So with the hopes of making our community, our downtown area more vibrant, prosperous, Miss Dottie and Mr. Clay, they have coordinated with two property owners with mural proposals, and the proposal in attachment A is for an east-facing wall of Bliss Boutique that more or less faces Market Square, and attachment B is for a building at the corner of South 2nd Avenue and Law Street, which would be basically, it would be facing the mural that exists at the VFW, the flag mural across the parking lot. So those two would be facing each other. That's attachment B.
Any questions for Matt regarding the mural request? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Motion
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne,
Aye.
Councilmember Groby,
Aye.
Councilmember Dills,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock,
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. Dottie and Clay do a great job. Thank you. Okay, takes us to item number 5 on our agenda under public hearings. And that is to consider approval of ordinance 1834, excuse me, rezoning request from highway commercial and commercial recreation C2 to single-family residential R1 for property located west of North First and north of Gale Farrell. For those in the audience, and the council is already aware, but this item was considered at our last meeting, or it was under consideration, and there were some questions regarding the legal description, I believe, and so we tabled that for further direction and clarification. And Mr. Matt.
Yes, and on that note, and then I'll kind of backtrack, but on the note of last month's meeting, that item in question was verified as correct. The legal description was verified as correct. So we're working with the same information tonight that we were working with last month. So just to recap, again, same information. HMP Land Holdings has a request to go from the current R1 single-family residential zoning to a commercial 2, highway commercial and commercial recreation zoning. And it's for 1 acre of property that's located just west of the intersection of Gale Farrell Drive and North First Avenue. So considering what the applicant is requesting, I do recommend denial, and that's based upon the display that we have in the future land use map, which is included in the attachments, that it shows up as a pink color, which the legend says is general commercial, and that being the land use map that we have in effect until a map is updated. I'm going along with that current map that we have in, as our guideline. But Planning Commission did vote for approval. One member had to abstain because of being, because of potential conflict of interest, so recused himself. We received no citizen complaints at the time of the memo and compiling the agenda. I did have a conversation before this meeting with a citizen who is concerned about something that I'm also concerned about, is if this is to be rezoned single-family residential, that I do recommend that be considered that driveways do not enter and exit directly off of Gale Farrell Drive because of the traffic flow that it receives, the speed limit. So just general safety awareness for not only the people who end up occupying that land and living there, but also the surrounding neighborhoods, the traffic flow nearby. So with that, I do believe the applicant is present. I believe I saw them. So I'm here for any questions.
I would remind the audience we are under the public hearing portion. Item number 5 falls under the public hearing portion. So if there are folks, of course, council may have some questions for Matt and our property owners and our citizens that have questions. I think, council, you have any questions for Matt? But those in the audience would have, if you are here and want to speak either in favor of or in opposition to this request, this is certainly that time to do that. I have a couple questions, Matt. One, you just mentioned, well, first this will have to go through a sort of a platting, I guess, and a...
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Yep, I have not seen any design to this point, so I was purely speaking in hypotheticals.
Other than access to Gale Farrell, what other access is available for that consideration?
I don't know of another public access point other than Gale Farrell.
Is that just a recommendation of concern, or?
It is, and something that I would bring up to once we get to that point of platting and talking about building permits. That's one thing I would bring up, just that we can't hold them to not having driveways directly on and off that road, but I would just want to talk about safety concerns.
Okay. Council members have any questions for Mr. Matt?
Matt, how much land is it?
It's just about exactly 1 acre.
That's what I thought.
And I don't know if I covered it last month, but just to repeat, that 1 acre they're hoping to divide into 4 single-family lots. That's the latest plan that I've heard.
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
To
How many?
divide that 1 acre into 4 different
Lots?
parcels or lots. Mm-hmm.
So is that going to require a street?
Not a requirement. Gale Farrell abuts the property boundaries, so no.
Okay. And if someone does wish to speak, please come forward and identify yourself, and we'll be happy to.
My name is Michael Ellis. My wife and I, we live over there off of Gale Farrell, and there's a lot of traffic that comes through there, especially when school is let out. My concern and my wife's concern is a lot of accidents, especially if they're backing into Gale Farrell. If there was like a circle way or something like that where you can look left and right, it might help, but it's a lot of traffic that goes up and down. Police run that road pretty good because of the, amount of traffic that goes through there.
Okay. Thank you, Michael. Thank you. Oh, okay. We have citizen Tom Markham, and
You can share with me here.
Go ahead, Tom.
Tom Markham, 3025 Prestonwood. I live just near there, just to the west of there. I know what Matt's saying, that this is on the future land use map. It's commercial. And we have one commercial entity there on the laundromat. I understand Mr. Ellis's traffic concerns because there are some wrecks there. There's a wreck at the intersection at First Street periodically. My daughter was involved in an accident turning into Prestonwood, someone coming and hit her from behind. So I understand that aspect. From the traffic standpoint, I'm not sure there'd be more traffic in 4 residential houses than there would be if that was a strip mall or an office complex. So as a resident that lives near there, I don't have any objection to 4 single-family houses there. If it was R3 and they were putting in an apartment complex, or if it was a strip mall, or if it was a heavily traveled office complex, I think the traffic concerns would be even greater than they might be with 4 single-family houses. So,
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
He just stole my thunder, Charlie Bachman. Again, when you put when it's commercial, you have no idea what's going in there. You get a fast food restaurant in there, which would fit under C2. You're going to have a whole lot more traffic than you're going to get with the number of homes. I think at some point in time, they're going to have to come back for you with a plot for the property, and at that point, the council can say, okay, well, we want to limit the amount of things, so instead of allowing you to have 4 houses in there, we're going to allow you to have 3, or we're going to allow you to have 2. You have that flexibility, and that would make a lot more sense. I think you create a greater risk by leaving it C2. If you can take it from C2 to residential, I think that's a boon for the community. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Bachman. Yes, sir, Mr. Matt.
Yeah, if I could just follow up for awareness sake, if it is rezoned R1, and if the applicant does go through with coming through with my office and asking for that 1 lot to become 4, that would just be considered a minor subdivision, which is a lot split plat that's taken care of in just my office. So if the situation does pan out the way it's been described thus far, you all would not see the plat.
Would not what?
You all would not see the platting process.
Matt, what'd you say the speed limit is?
I didn't because I couldn't exactly remember. So
35.
It was 35. Okay.
All the way through?
Yeah, from North First West. Mm-hmm.
I found out it wasn't 45 one time.
I could have told you that.
I just think that might be something that city manager might want to consider. I know at some point we'll do traffic studies and, of course, more residential houses going in. Speed limit might be a little bit faster if it's all commercial versus it's slower with residential. So I'm assuming it's probably been a while since that's taken place. But
Are the property owners in the audience? Do you wish to have any input or comments?
Nothing more than what Mr. Markham and Mr. Bachman said. Todd Dankivel, representing HMP Land Holdings. As to what Mr. Ellis said, if we do get an approval for the 4 plats, one thing that's a very valid concern, and I'm with these guys about the commercial traffic being a little possibly heavier. But, where there is something we could consider, a circle drive, we could put some restrictions on what could be built there to either do a circle drive or a turnaround drive on the way back. You've got the garages on the side and you can turn around and go out to reduce the everyday backing out. That's a great point. I don't think we'd have a problem doing something like that if you guys did grant us this rezone.
Okay, thank you. I think, for the record, those concerns have been voiced, and I appreciate your offer to work with Community Development, Planning and Zoning, and Mr. Matt in that regard. One of the other things council has to consider, besides just the request, is the need. And we all know that our housing, we fall short in our community. And from the low, how do you say it, the smaller homes to the larger homes. I'm assuming this would probably be somewhere in the middle income range, but we have a desperate need for adequate and housing to meet our citizens' needs and those that are coming here. So we weigh that too. Any other questions, comments from anybody? Anyone else in the audience? Anyone in the audience? Anyone else in the audience? We'll close the public hearing portion. Is council ready to consider ordinance 1834? Do we have other questions?
Move to approve.
Section 1.
Section 1.
Have a motion for section 1
Second.
and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, the clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne.
Aye.
Councilmember Groby.
Aye.
Councilmember Dills.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock.
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries.
Move to approve Section 2.
Second.
Motion and a second for the section 2, the emergency clause. The clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne.
Aye.
Councilmember Groby.
Aye.
Councilmember Dills.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock.
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matt.
I'll change that date on the ordinance. That reflects last month.
Okay,
Thank
very
you.
good. Okay, that takes us to item number 6 on the agenda, and that's under citizen comments. If you're familiar, there's a sign-up sheet, and prior to the meeting, we asked that you list your name and your subject, and we didn't have anybody sign up tonight. So we'll, number 6, we'll have no action or comments from the audience. We have executive session next. If there are no objections, would council want to consider a recess and take care of the utilities and airport authority? Entertain a motion to recess out of regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. The clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne.
Aye.
Councilmember Groby.
Aye.
Councilmember Dills.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock.
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, the motion carries, and we are recessed out of regular session. We will let the record show it is 6:50, wait a minute, 6:53. And I'll call to order the regular monthly meeting of the Durant City Utilities Authority of February the 12th, 2019, and ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Here.
Trustee Groby.
Here.
Trustee Dills.
Here.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Here.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Here, for the record, all members are present. We have a full quorum. Our first order of business is consent items. 1A. Do we have a motion for the consent?
Move to approve.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, the secretary will record the vote, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Aye.
Trustee Groby. Trustee Dills.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Aye.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. Item 2 will require no action. Any discussion under the information items? Hearing none. Under administration, we have no business items under administration to consider. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. The secretary will record the vote, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Aye.
Trustee Groby. Trustee Dills.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Aye.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Aye, we are recessed out of the Durant, not recessed, we are adjourned out of the Durant City Utilities Authority. Let the record show it's 6:54. Call to order the regular Durant Airport Authority meeting, monthly meeting of February the 12th, 2019, and ask the secretary to call the roll, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Here.
Trustee Groby.
Here.
Trustee Dills.
Here.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Here.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Here, for the record, all members are present. We have a full quorum. First order of business, consent items. Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, secretary will record the vote, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Aye.
Trustee Groby.
Aye.
Trustee Dills.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Aye.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. Item 2 requires no action. Any discussion under information items? Agenda item number 3? Hearing none. And we had no citizen comments. Under administration, item number 5 on our agenda, 5A. Consider approval of a ground lease agreement, number C-2019-06, for the construction of a new corporate hangar located at Durant Regional Airport, Eaker Field, for the First United Bank of Durant. Mr. Marty Cook, Public Works Director.
Yes, sir. We've been working with Representative First United Bank on this ground lease for about a couple months now. They came to us with some interest. As you all know, we're expanding our runway. We're going to have 1,800 foot added to the length of our runway at the airport. That's spurring some activity and some people that are interested in coming to live at our airport with their planes and their jets, including First United Bank, who's been a longstanding member of this community, but not all of their jets always lived on our surface. And part of that's because the runway was a little short, and part of it's because they didn't have a good place to park it. So they came to us. We've discovered a piece of property. If you look at the map you have on the screen, everything outlined in blue and pink to make one rectangular box, they would be sitting, that would be the property they would be leasing from us. Now, to put that in perspective, that is just south of the Choctaw Hangar, at the south end of the field, across from the Emergency Management Office. The square you see above the blue box is the Choctaw Hangar and the runway, so they would take up just about as much space as the Choctaw Hangar currently does. Choctaw's on a ground lease with theirs as well, and so it's the only other ground lease we had really done at the airport. This will be the second one. They're going to take up 151,000 square feet roughly at a cost of 10 cents per square foot rent back to the city just for no more than using our dirt. We will have to spend about $15,000 on infrastructure improvements to get to the property with water and sewer and street, but they're going to reimburse those costs as a part of this contract as well. So really, other than a little bit of labor for our time out on the project with infrastructure, we made out pretty good on this. This is a 30-year lease with an option to extend for another 20 in 4 or 5 year terms. This is the way ground leases work, pretty common. And if at any time they neglect to pay their rent or opt out of the contract in any way, the asset then would become ours. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I didn't ask one question earlier. That big of an area, obviously they can build something bigger than what they need.
They could. The intent right now, after the meetings I've had, they've already got people drawing it up, is going to look very similar to Choctaw's.
Okay.
So what you see to the north there, they will have a long taxiway to their facility, a good apron out in front where they could park multiple planes, and then a building that's about 160 by 100 under the roof.
Okay.
So that's their intent at this moment.
But would they be able to build a separate hangar if they?
They could.
chose to?
Obviously, it would always have to be approved by the building department of City of Durant and the FAA, because you can only build a building of a certain height a certain distance away from a taxiway. And so they can't go to the very front of that property and put up another building that size, if that makes sense.
Yep.
The closer you are, the shorter you have to be. This will be probably a 35-foot tall structure. This will be as big as the Choctaws, big enough to handle one of those Gulf Streams or something.
Okay. Thank you.
Well, just a comment too, and I think you pointed it out earlier, but this is a direction for the city to go with minimal investment, but still maintaining the ownership of everything. But also this will be our second ground lease, our first being a tribal government relationship, and this will be our first private sector.
Yes, and I've got a customer coming in a couple weeks to talk about another one. So this is a movement. If you'll notice that property in the gray, that's in a solid gray on the south side there, is poured cement that's already on the ground. That's a South Hangar development area. And all those square boxes you see in pink that was our plan. We were going to put some small hangars across that area and then lease them out individually. Well, obviously, it's more profitable for the city, and it used a good use of the space to let one customer come in and take the entire area. They're actually going to pay us more than we would have gotten from those 8 individual hangars that we were going to have to also pay to construct. Now, on the south side of that cement that you see partially poured is still an area where 8 more hangars can go, and probably will go on the south side. It'll be smaller hangars. So this is the development area that we always intended to develop, and the direction we're moving right now is at the very end of the runway, but it's fixing to be about a third the way up it.
Any other questions for Marty? If not, entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Secretary will record the vote, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Aye.
Trustee Groby.
Aye.
Trustee Dills.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Aye.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. Anything under new business? Hearing none, entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. The Secretary will record the vote, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Aye.
Trustee Groby.
Aye.
Trustee Dills.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Aye.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. We're adjourned out of the Airport Authority. Thank you, Marty. Entertain a motion to reconvene into regular city council session.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. The clerk will record the vote, please.
Trustee Hawthorne.
Aye.
Trustee Groby.
Aye.
Trustee Dills.
Aye.
Vice Chairman Hitchcock.
Aye.
Chairman Tomlinson.
Aye. Motion carries. We are reconvened back into regular city council session. We'll pick up with item number 7 on the agenda under executive session to consider an executive session for confidential communication with the city attorney concerning a pending claim against the city of Durant, Billy and others versus the city of Durant, Oklahoma. This executive session authorized by Title 25, Section 307B4 of the Oklahoma State statutes. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to enter into executive session. The clerk will record the vote, please.
Councilmember Hawthorne.
Aye.
Councilmember Groby.
Aye.
Councilmember Dills.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Hitchcock.
Aye.
Mayor Tomlinson.
Aye, motion carries. We'll enter into executive session and should return shortly.
Yeah, it would not work.
I just couldn't download anything. I could go page to page, that was fine. That's why I didn't know there was a section 1 or 2 or what.